Good morning, world. It is 5:40 in the morning. Hope you guys enjoyed my 30-minute video I made yesterday. Yeah. Today, I promise I will do a long video in the evening. I'm going to wake up early around 6, work on my book with my youngest brother, and the remaining time I have left, I'll make the video before I go to the store and get my beer and my smokes, obviously. Yeah, so I just finished Two Towers again. I haven't watched it again. Yes, I watched it again, obviously, and I loved it, obviously. What what I find really annoying about the movie is it had some bad CGI in some scenes, obviously, and the ladders, man. Those ladders are a real plot hole in the story, man. Like y'all, we know what you're talking about. Yes, Peter Jackson was talking about. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, man. You saw the fucking orc army, no ladders, and all of a sudden when they approach the wall, you see like 10 ladders appearing out of nowhere. I'm like, where the fuck did those ladders come from? Oh, why? Because the special effects, why the digital slacked the fuck off, man. They slacked off. They worked hard, but they slacked off. Yeah, fuck it. Like, let's just have the orcs not carrying ladders when they approach the wall. You have ladders appearing out of nowhere. Yeah, man. Obviously. Hence why digitals do not work as hard for New Line than they are for me, obviously, because I pay them the guys way more money and I spoil them with luxury buffet. See what I'm saying? If you pay them $7,000, you pay the main VFX or the main guys. I don't know, the main like 5 guys, you pay them all nice $2 million salary. The main editor, the two main VFX, the main VFX artists, and the main like sound guys, $2 million are all going to work harder for you. The only people who I'm going to pay $2 million are the VFX guys and the editors, the main guys, and then there's all the other assistants on all the apartments. You pay them their $7,000 salary, which is nice. White Digital, I believe all those guys live in. They're all from New Zealand, I believe, right? As they're all going to make their 100,000 plus after taxes in their bank. They're going to work hard for me. As for Lord of the Rings, they probably made 40 grand. 40, 50 grand. Because don't forget, White Digital just wasn't that big back then when they did Lord of the Rings. And then Peter Jackson grew his company and he used White Digital for his King Kong, you know what I'm saying, and The Hobbit, obviously, as well as Planet of the Apes. Yeah. You see what I'm saying, huh? Yeah. Ivan, what's your favorite Lord of the Rings movie? My favorite Lord of the Rings movie is Two Towers. Two Towers is, in my opinion, the best of the three movies. Most people like Fellowship of the Ring. Most people like Return of the King the best. There's a reason why Return of the King swept the Oscars because most people thought it was the best movie, but I disagree. I think Return of the King was the worst of the three movies. It had the most messy CGI. It was all over the place. It wasn't very focused. It wasn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, whereas Two Towers and Fellowship of the Ring is a bit more focused. The Return of the King was all over the place. You know what I'm saying? There's just so much going on, and the story was a masterpiece, obviously, but the wars I didn't like as much. They weren't as Helm's Deep is the best war in Lord of the Rings. And what? Yeah. I even did the Two Towers. Yeah, Two Towers had a few bad CGI. If you watch the extended edition, obviously, remember the scene when the orcs are running towards the trees? You got that bad CGI. You can tell it was really bad CGI with the orcs moving their hands. The computer generated software was very cheesy for the that's bad. Peter Jackson was what I'm talking about. I know what you're talking about. Yes, that was bad CGI. And you have the ladders appearing out of nowhere, and then the ring race flying on the end scene when Sam and all them are in Osgiliath and I'm saying and Frodo puts on the ring and then Sam takes the ring from him. Obviously, he prevents Frodo from putting on the ring and they fall down the stairs. He's like, "It's your Sam." You know what I'm saying, remember that part? Remember when you saw the ring race on Wings? Yeah, the CGI there was a little cheesy, obviously. But to be fair, CGI was not as good back then. It was Lord of the Rings was made in the early 2000s. We're in a different generation now, man. We're 20 some years later. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's the only thing. That's the only bad thing I would say about Lord of the Rings, because Lord of the Rings is the almost perfect trilogy. The bad thing about Return of the King is the bad thing about Lord of the Rings is the rushed wars in Return of the King. Obviously, the messy CGI in Return of the King, and the extended editions of Two Towers have some bad CGI too. I even went, yeah, that scene when the orcs were running, that was bad CGI. Like, you can tell this White Digital slack didn't work as hard. Because that CGI was bad, man. When you saw the orcs running towards the trees, I'm like, what the fuck? They look like a bunch of sloppy people running, man. Sloppy orcs running. Yeah. I recommend all you Lord of the Rings fans, you'll see what I'm saying. Go watch Two Towers, the extended edition. You need to watch the extended edition to see the scene. Obviously, at the end of the movie, when the orcs are running towards the trees after the Rohirrim drive them away, obviously you'll see the cheesy CGI when they run to the trees. It's bad CGI. And the ring race on wings, the in Osgiliath in the end of 2 hours, that was bad. That was pretty bad CGI. And you have the ladders appearing out of nowhere. And you also have that one scene. You guys will spot this in the movie. You have the one scene when the orcs breach Helm's Deep, obviously. You see like 100, like I don't know, 80, 100 men left, man. And the next scene, there's like Aragorn and like 15 men. Man, where the fuck did all those men go? You see what I'm saying? Not even the orcs killed them, but how did the orcs kill them? Like, the men were running. The men were running up the door. Obviously, they're running up the door. Obviously, like they you know what I'm saying? Like I find it's just a bit. I would have been nice if they showed how those men died instead of just cutting to a scene where you have 10 people left. That's bad editing, obviously, for Weta Digital. Why? Because New Line's fucking cheap. They paid the Weta Digital guys. They're shitty fucking, I don't know, 40, 50K, and they fed them shittier food. They're not going to work as hard for them, obviously. Yeah, man. You're not going to get any of that in my movie. Because I paid everyone more money and I spoiled them with perks, man. Yeah. You pay Weta Digital, the guys, $1,000 salary, they're going to work hard for you, man. That's a nice paycheck for an average person, man. Because all the special effects people are all average people. They all make like 50 grand in Hollywood, 40 grand in Hollywood. The only people who are like celebrities are the actors and directors and producers. Those are the only people who are like, and the cinematographers. Cinematographers can make pretty good money too. They make like they can make their 300, 400. Even the big ones make even $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million cinematographers in Hollywood. The cinematographers, obviously, the actors, directors, and producers, those are like pretty much the big guys. Whereas everyone else are all average people in Hollywood. You see what I'm saying, huh? They're all average people. I watched Two Towers, I enjoyed it. It's fucking long, obviously. I binged the whole like 3.5 hours of Two Towers. And tomorrow I might watch Return of the King, perhaps. Return of the King really, really pisses me off. It really, really pisses me off, Return of the King. You know what I'm saying? It's sad. King Theoden dies. You know what I'm saying? Frodo leaves the Undying Lands of Gandalf. That part's sad. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And the wars are all rushed. And there's a reason why Peter Jackson likes Two Towers better. Yes, Two Towers is the best of the three movies. But it's funny because Two Towers didn't win any awards. Fellowship of the Ring, I heard, won Best Picture. Best Picture, I believe. Whereas Return of the King swept the whole Oscars. They swept the Oscars. They won like every single award. And most people think Return of the King is the best. I disagree, man. Return of the King is not the best. It's the worst of the three movies. That's just my personal opinion. If you like Return of the King the best, it's your opinion. I'm not gatekeeping. You know what I'm saying? I love Return of the King. It's a masterpiece, obviously, but it's the worst of the three movies. See what I'm saying, huh? I watched Two Towers. I'm like, man, Peter Jackson is perfect for Zane's, man. Because Lord of the Rings is a fantasy world. You know what I'm saying? Last of Us is also a fantasy world, too. You have the North and you have the South. The Southern Kingdoms, and then you have the Northern Kingdom, obviously. And that's why Viggo Mortensen is really good for Lord of the Rings, because Viggo Mortensen, he commanded the archers in Two Towers. He would have a lot of good ideas. Ivan, what are you thinking of Maris? I'm thinking something like Faramir. And when Faramir wore that robe, that hood, obviously, I'm thinking something like that for the archers. The archers of Azanians have this robe, similar to the elves in Lord of the Rings, something like that. You could tell people that, give them ideas. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking something like they wear robes like my Lord of the Rings movie for your archers. The archers, but the archers are not elves, they're men, obviously. They're Northerns. And they even talk about how what? Aragorn is a ranger from the north. I'm like, holy shit. You know, I think he'd be good for Maramis. Yeah, Maramis is the archer from the north too. Yeah, Viggo Mortensen will not be fighting with his sword in my movie. He'll be fighting with his bow and arrow. As Maramis is an archer. He's not a melee fighter. Think something like Legolas, except more bass than that. Because I'm putting more money into special effects, obviously. So if you thought Orlando Bloom looked badass in Lord of the Rings as Legolas, think something even better than that for my movie, because I'm pouring more money towards special effects. And Viggo Mortensen will be training with me for 1 year, if I choose him. High chance I'll choose Don over him. Don't hate me, Viggo. But if I choose Viggo, he'll be training with me for 1 year in Vancouver, man. And she's looking at he's gonna be a badass fighter. It's up to he'll be older, obviously. Holy shit, Vigo looks so much older than he did in fucking Lord of the Rings. Yeah, Lord of the Rings, he was a young guy. He was only like 40 at the time. Whereas now when he does Ivan movie, he's 30 years later, he's like pushing 70. It's weird, you know what I'm saying? But 70 years old, you're still fine. It's when the moment you hit your like late 70s, early 80s, that's when you're done. You can't really do the things you used to do when you're younger. When you're 69, you're still fine. But you might see Vigo maybe struggling a little bit with the work a little bit more than he did 30 years ago because he's a lot older than he was. He's pushing 70. Viggo Mortensen's older than even Peter Jackson, man. Peter Jackson's only 60. Viggo Mortensen's 63. So you might see Peter struggling maybe a little bit with the work. He'll be fine though. Well, don't worry about. I'll be fine. I'll train. Don't worry about. I'll be fine. I'm like, yeah, Vigo. I recommend you eat your nutrition, your good nutrition, and you train well. Because you're looking at what? You're looking at a lot of fighting in Zanus, obviously. See what I'm saying? You're looking at a lot of fighting in Zanus. The Zanes have more action in Lord of the Rings. Oh, it's pretty much the same thing. My movie will not. Volume 3 will not have as much action as Return of the King. Return of the King is action packed, man. Action from the beginning to the end. It's full on action. But my battle sequences will be better than what you got for Lord of the Rings because I'm putting more money into my movie. For special effects, I trained all the actors for 1 year. The actors trained with me for 1 year. I'm hiring the best swordsman in the business. Whereas for Lord of the Rings, they probably hired cheaper swordsmen. I'm hiring the best swordsman in the business to train me and all the best archer people to train all my actors, my stars who are fighting in the movie, obviously. And that's why I look at something unheard of for the Northerns. The Northerns are badass fighters, yeah. Obviously. Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, so let's talk about what? My Zanus movie, obviously. Yeah, so my two top candidates are Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson. High chance I will choose Peter over Mel, but you never know. I might choose Mel Gibson over him. Because Peter Jackson did that Masterpiece of the Rings. Obviously, I'll pay Peter his rich $85 million, which is like $106 million in New Zealand money, in salary and bonuses, and I'll give him 0.6% of the profits. Obviously, and if the movie does more, I give him 0.4. That way he doesn't rip me off. Because if my movie does like $200 billion in sales, Peter's going to take home like 350, 380, even 400 million in royalties alone. That's too much. Keep Peter around that 350, 300, 250, 200, $280 million royalty range. Even if he makes $200 million, Peter, he still makes $300 million. A lot of money. He's walking with $100 plus million. I don't know, $150 million in his bank after taxes. $60 million China. It's still a lot of money, but $200 million in royalties is highly unlikely. That's only if 700 million people buy a movie. Chances are Peter's gonna make that 280 plus at least. 300 most likely he'll make for my movie. 300 million around there. 300 to 80 million in royalties he'll make, excluding his $100 million salary with his bonuses. And then Mel Gibson, I'll pay him 56 million, which is like, I don't know, 40 million and 43 million and 44 million dollars in American money, and I'll pay him 0.5% of the profits and 0.3% of the profits if the movie does more. Mel Gibson will still make his $150, $160 million in royalties, $180 million in royalties, $200 million in royalties, excluding his $56 million salary. They both signed massive contracts. Biggest movie contract ever for a director for Peter. Whereas Mel Gibson's contract is about the same amount of money Peter made for Lord of the Rings. It's about the same amount of money. Whereas Peter Jackson's contract is more than what New Line paid him. New Line paid Peter $250 million. Okay, according to the book, he got $250 million, but according to Google, he got it $180 million. I don't know which is accurate. My guess is the author for the book is accurate. He said Peter got $250 million for the movie. With 3 movies, and he signed a fat contract, Peter. He striked it rich, man. That's how Peter became Peter Jackson. That's how he became so big, obviously. Lord of the Rings launched Peter Jackson's career. Whereas before that, Peter Jackson wasn't that big, man. He was only worth maybe $1 million, $1.5 million. He wasn't that big, man. He was like an independent director, and when he did Lord of the Rings, his career skyrocketed. He did King Kong, he did The Hobbit, He did District 9. District 9 was not bad. I saw that. You know what I'm saying? He did. Moral Engine flopped. Flopped. That wasn't a good movie, obviously, but he did like all these. That's when you start seeing Peter doing all these budget movies. That's when you saw him do all these budget movies, obviously. You see what I'm saying, huh? Yeah, so that's my deal for Peter and Mel Gibson. If Peter is greedy and he wants a piece of the merch, I'm like, Peter, you're not getting a dime off the merch. What I'm paying you is good enough. I know that feeling. You smell blood in the water and you get greedy and you want more money. I know that feeling. It's a good feeling, obviously, to make so much moolah. You know what I'm saying? His agent might get cocky. Ivan, what about the merch, man? Are you gonna give Peter a piece of that? A nice 0% at that. I'm like, if you think I'm gonna give Peter if you think I'm gonna give Peter I don't know, $600 in royalties, $700 in royalties, excluding his bonuses, you're fucking crazy. I'm not gonna pay Peter like $800 million. He's ripping you off. You're being far too generous. As Hollywood would never do that. That's crazy, man. Keep Peter around that 400, 430, 450, 380, $350 million range for your movie. $300 million range for your movie. $300 is high unlikely for his paycheck. He's most likely going to make his 350 plus. 350, 400, 380, 430, 450 million dollars people will make. Perhaps most likely about 400 million he'll make. 300 million royalties with his $100 million salary with his bonuses. That's my deal for Peter. And I'll give him a $2 million for the release. And I'll give Mel Gibson $2 million for the release. That way they work hard for you. So Peter, when I release my special edition or extended edition for my movies, you get your $2 million in your bank, which is like, I don't know, $4.5 million in New Zealand money. 5 million New Zealand money around there. 4.8, $4.7 million New Zealand money. That's a fat paycheck in the bank for a release, man. It's a nice paycheck. As in Hollywood, you don't get a dime for that stuff. You get your flat salary and that's it. And Peter might have negotiated for a piece of the DVD because I don't know. Maybe he got $180 million for the 3 movies, and he got a piece of the game profits and because the Lord of the Rings game profits and the what, and the DVDs that made, maybe that brought it up to $250 million perhaps. You know, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he had a deal like that or something like that. That probably explains the discrepancy with Google and what that guy says in the book, obviously. Obviously, right? Yeah, because I gave Peter an unlimited budget, he's going to have that smile on his face. He's going to be happy because I gave him an unlimited budget, Peter. I gave him an unlimited budget, whereas New Line gave Peter a limited budget. They gave him a not bad budget. Obviously, $9 million is a not bad budget. Obviously, for a movie like Lord of the Rings, you should be putting like $150 million towards that, man. Towards each of the movies. It's a big fucking franchise, man. And New Line only did it for $90 million each. And they still pulled it off. The movie was still amazing, obviously. But you can only imagine how much better technology my movie will be as I'm pouring like $400 million towards special effects. CGI technology, special effects. $30 million towards set building. Think of that for a sec. Think of that for a sec. Yeah, man. You can only imagine how much money, what I'm putting towards my movie. $35 million towards extras. Think of that for a sec. $37 million towards the costumes, armor, and weapons, and machine for the mask. You see what I'm saying? My company blows out. And I'm going to tell Peter, even though I want the wolves to look natural in the bats, I'm going to be applying the CGI technology towards these beings. And they're going to look even better, obviously. They're going to look unheard of, but they look more natural. Ivan, as long as you put the special effect towards it, it's fine. I think it's better if they look natural. Yes, Peter, stay away from full-on CGI wolves and bats, otherwise the movie won't be as good. They'll look a little cheesy like fucking Azog in The Hobbit. No, man. If you do that, the movie won't be as good. And stay away from that Rings of Power and that Hobbit look. I want Peter, I'm gonna add CGI technology towards the world building, obviously. You can't have the world look too natural, otherwise the movie won't be as good either. You need to mix both. You need to mix big sets with your CGI. That way your world looks amazing, unheard of, better than Avatar, but it also looks natural. Something like your Lord of the Rings trilogy, you see what I'm saying, huh? So it'll look natural like Lord of the Rings, except I'll be adding in this, mixing it with the CGI. You can't just rely on practical effects. No, otherwise your movie won't be as good. No, it will not be as good if you have it look. Peter, I don't want the world to look too natural, and I don't want the world to look too computery. Mix both of them. That way the world looks unheard of. It looks natural, but it looks very natural, but it also looks amazing, better than Avatar. You see what I'm saying? Tell Peter that the way he knows, and tell Roy Digital that way they know. See what I'm saying? Yeah, do not have the world look too natural like you got for, I don't know, the movie Prey and Robin Hood. No, that's too natural. The movie won't be as good. You have to mix it with. It's a faster world. You have to make the world look amazing. You have to mix in your CGI technology, but build big sets that way. That way your world looks more natural, like Helm's Deep, The Shire. You see what I'm saying? I know what I'm doing. Then we get a better movie. That way you get a better movie. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, that way you get a better movie, obviously. Peter might be shocked. Ivan, like, are you saying you don't want Airtime to be a full-on CGI wolf? So, Ivan, like, CGI is worth at this today, man. Everyone uses CGI for what? Everyone uses CGI for fucking villains in their movies, Ivan. Why don't you like CGI? Peter, I like CGI, but I don't want Airtime to be a full-on CGI wolf. I want the actors to actually see Airtime when they see him and all that stuff. I don't want them imagining with the fucking green screen. No. I want the actors to actually see Airtime wearing the mask like that devil being an animal. Like Pennywise the Clown. They see his face and everything. That way they can act better, get better acting. And you apply the special effects towards that, the prosthetic mask and costume. You're looking at walking demons and devils. And that's why Zaynus will be a better movie than Peter Jackson of the Rings by a slim margin. I'm not going to say Zaynus will blow the rings out of the water. No, it won't. Because I watched the trilogy and I'm like, yeah, like, even though Zaynus is a masterpiece, Lord of the Rings is also a masterpiece too. You have the language of the elves. You have the beautiful world building of Middle Earth. You have the action sequences. You have that story. It's a fucking masterpiece. Obviously, you have the beautiful speech, the rich speech. That's why I need Peter helping me out with the scripts. I can have his wife Fran help. Hey, Fran is Peter's wife or partner. They have 2 kids together. Obviously, you know what I'm saying. You can have Fran. I don't need Fran help me out with the script, though. I'll just have Fran help me out with the producing duties. Okay, Peter, I'll hire your wife. I can have your wife stay with you in your hotel. Obviously, I can have your wife stay with you in your hotel, Peter, if you want. I'll have Fran and Barry Osborne stay with Peter and all them in the hotel. Nice suites, and Peter's money is Fran's money, right? So I'm not going to pay Fran a rich salary. No. I'll pay her a rich salary for assistant producer, but if she wants like millions, I'm like, look, Fran, I'm not going to pay you like $5 million. That's crazy. You're my assistant producer. That's it. I'll pay you $50,000, which is nice. Peter's money is your money. You guys are together, obviously, right? The money that he's making is your money. I'll pay you a rich $50,000. That's good enough for you. That's good enough for Fran. Have her be your assistant producer, and she'll help out. She'll help out Barry Osborne with help out the 17 the first year. So to get things accomplished faster, you can have Fran and Barry Osborne stay in Vancouver for 1 year with Peter. They'll be helping out my 17 with the business calls. Obviously, have them be your assistant producers. And in the second year, you can have them flown with Peter to oversee some of the stuff in Switzerland in the second year when some of the crewmen are building some of the sets, creating the costumes, the armor, the weapons, the machines for the mask, creating the mask. Have them oversee some of that, some of the business. The second year. In the third year, they're going to oversee more business when the rest of the crewmen's flown to Switzerland. In the fourth year's production. And Barry Osborne will be helping out my 17 handling all the business while I'm filming, obviously. And Peter will put on his directing hat. He'll be directing the 3 volumes of Zaynus for a good 9 to 12 months. Most likely 12 months. I might extend the date to 12 months for Peter Jackson and all the actors. Blood, sweat, and tears, man. I'm telling you, Peter, please stay away from PG-13 Zaynus and stay away from PG-13 Airtime. Otherwise, the movie won't be. It'll still be a masterpiece, but it won't be as good as his Lord of the Rings trilogy. If you have Airtime be a PG-13 wolf, I'm telling you right now. I know what I'm saying. If you have Zaynus PG-13 and you have Airtime like I don't know, wolf like Azog, the movie will not be better. It will be a masterpiece, but it will not be better than PG Lord of the Rings. It will not be better, man. Guaranteed. If you want to have Zaynus beat out Lord of the Rings, you have to have a radar and you have to have the wolves and the big devils. The way it builds more buzz and creates a more powerful story. As Eretat and the wolves are meant to be devils. When you read the book, I make it very clear that Eretat's a devil walking in the south. The Southerners call him the Devil Wolf King, man. So if he's a devil, why is Takis in agony? Because he's facing the most horrific being in movie history. A devil, the devil himself, yeah. That's why you have him be rated R wolf. Yeah, but Ivan, children want me to watch this. Peter, it's not a big deal. When the kids are older, they can easily watch the movie. You know what I'm saying? A lot of kids even watch rated R movies with their parents. When they're 12, 14, 12, 10, they watch rated R movies with their parents. Theaters allow kids to watch rated R movies as long as they're with their parents. Except if you want to watch a rated R movie, a 14 plus, 18 plus movie, you can watch it as long as you're with an adult. As a lot of kids are most likely going to watch the movie. Their parents, okay, honey, just sit next to me. Because, Mom, Dad, I want to watch the movie, please. It's too scary for you, honey. You know what I'm saying? Some people might send their kids to play PlayStation, but the kids are going to want to watch my movie too. But if they can't, they'll be able to watch it when they're older. It's not that big of a deal. You know what I'm saying, huh? Because Ivan, so are you saying you don't care about the kids? I'm like, Peter, don't even play that game with me. You guys turned me and my fucking wife into fucking porn stars, and the whole world watched that. You weren't complaining about the kids then, and now you're complaining about a rated R movie. Come on, guys, don't play this game with me. I know what I'm doing. Rated R is where it's at for Zanus. That's if you want to create a great story. Rated R is where it's at. See what I'm saying? You guys can't say shit. Ivan, like, how evil of you to make a movie for rated R with partial news. I'm like, look, man, I shut you guys up for good. You turned me and VJ into fucking porn stars. And you had the whole world watch. Even kids are going to watch my porn video. Yeah, I shut you up for good. You can't say shit. I shut you up for good, man. Yeah, you shut up for good. Yes, I shut you up for good. I don't want to hear any of you guys complaining about, Ivan, you're making your movies dark. I don't know. Like, all your 5 movies are all like rated R movies, Ivan. Well, no, they're unique. I'll have it be like 13 plus, 14 plus. They're unique. They're unique, I'll make it 14 plus. I might have them say the word shit and like bitch in it. I won't have them swear for their unique. Or I can make it rated R too. You'll create a more powerful story. If you guys complain about a rated R movie, you can't say shit. You turn me into a fucking porn star. And rated R movies tend to be better than PG-13 movies a lot of the times. They're more powerful stories. Because you see the guy swearing, shit's real. Whereas PG-13, they have to sugarcoat everything. So as in real life, everyone swears when they're pissed off. Whereas in PG-13s, they don't swear. In PG-13, they'll just say the word ass and all that stuff. And like bitch. Bitch, ass. You know what I'm saying? Shit. PG-13, they say that. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, so Peter, please stay away. Stay away from what? From PG-13 era to, otherwise the movie won't be as good. I'm going to keep saying that, Peter. Lord of the Rings was good for PG. If I made Lord of the Rings, I would have made it 14 plus. It would have been a more powerful story. But I told you, I can never adapt a story like Lord of the Rings to the big screen because I'm not smart enough for that. As Peter was obviously born with a more intelligent mind than me. Obviously. Peter was obviously born with a more intelligent mind than me because he was able to pull off adapting that complicated fucking story. The story of Lord of the Rings is not complicated to understand, but the details and the world building, that shit is complicated shit, man. I know a little bit, obviously. I know Aragorn, the Dunedain, he's descended from the Numenors. He's descended from the Numenorians, wherever it is. Yeah, he's blessed with long life. Obviously, I know there's hobbits. There's races of hobbits, the Harfoots, all that stuff, right? But like the story is like Peter Jackson. He had to what? He had to study the languages for the movie. Yeah, it's complicated shit, man, and he pulled it off. I can never do what Peter Jackson did for Lord of the Rings. You know what I'm saying? I can never do that. Whereas for Zanus, I know what I'm doing because I wrote the story. It's my baby. Zanus, I wrote the fucking story. I know what I'm doing for Zanus. I know Zanus inside and out because I wrote it myself. That's why I know the story inside and out, obviously. And Zanus is much easier to adapt than Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is tough to adapt. It's a tough book to adapt. Lord of the Rings is pretty much Peter Jackson's interpretation of J.R.R. Tolkien's book, pretty much. Because if you read the books, it's very different from the movies. Like it's like an 80, like 3%. Peter only followed like 17%, 20% of J.R.R. Tolkien's book, man. He cut out a lot of stuff, man. like a lot. A lot of dialogue, a lot of scenes, even characters and lands. Yeah, even the lands are cut out too. There's more lands. What you got for the movie, there's more lands than that Tolkien describes in the book and all stuff. Where the hobbits travel and all stuff. Yeah, there's more lands. You have the old forest. That's cut out. You have the old forest, obviously. That's cut out, obviously. And you have other lands that are cut out too. In the book, I don't remember, but like you have other lands that are cut out too, obviously. You have characters like Haldir, Gildor, obviously. Is it Haldir? No, Haldir's in the movie, I believe. Haldir's is Haldir. I don't remember. Is he in the movie? I forget. But he cut out quite a few characters. Like you have Glorfindel. You have what? You have Goldberry. You have Tom Bombadil. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You have Gildor. You have a lot of characters that are cut out in the movie, obviously. Well, I told you, Peter Jackson had no choice. They only gave him a $9 million budget, and he had to cram everything in 3 hours. He had to cut it all out. He had no choice. It's not his fault, obviously. That's why I believe New Line should have made 6 movies instead of 3. They should have done book 1, book 2. That way you could have told the story more carefully. But they didn't do that, obviously. They made it into 3 movies. They would have made their $6 billion, New Line, and they decided not to do these 3 instead of 6 movies. See what I'm saying? But New Line pulled it off. They did a good job. As Peter Jackson did a good job. As Lord of the Rings is a masterpiece. As I can never do what he did for the trilogy. You know what I'm saying? If I adapted Lord of the Rings to the big screen, I wouldn't be able to do it. I'm like, guys, I don't understand this. I don't understand this. This is too complicated for me. Hire someone else who knows more about Lord of the Rings. I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't even be able to write the script. It's too complicated for me. You see what I'm saying? Because Lord of the Rings is fucking hard to adapt. Whereas Zane's is much easier to adapt. Hence why people would tell me, yo, Ivan, don't worry about it. Your book is nothing like J.R.R. Tolkien's book. Your book is much more easier to adapt. There's not as much lands in your book. There's not as much characters. Well, Zane's has a lot of characters. Zane's has a good 40 plus characters in the book. Lord of the Rings has about that same amount too. They have about 40 characters in the movie around there, Lord of the Rings. Zane's has a lot of characters. You have about 40 characters in the book around there. Yeah, you have 40 characters in the book. A lot of characters in the book, obviously. A lot of 35, 40 characters you have in the book. And yeah. Both animal and human characters. And yeah, you have a lot of characters in the book, obviously. But I tell you, Ivan, don't worry about it, Ivan. Your book is much more easier to follow than fucking J.R.R. Tolkien's book. J.R.R. Tolkien's a fucking drag. I have to cut out almost a good chunk of the book, man. And don't forget, Peter Jackson had time constraints. He had to play his movies at the theaters. Anything over 3 hours was too long, hence why he had to cut a bunch of stuff, and he had to cut out a lot of scenes in the book, for the time constraints for theaters. Whereas for my movie, he doesn't have to worry about that because I'm releasing direct to 4K Blu-ray. Show my camera here.